Hello and welcome to Case Closed. I'm Charlie Langton. Today we'll go inside an actual courtroom in the Warren District Court and see a real small claims case in action. In small claims court, there are no lawyers, and you can only sue for up to $3,000, and the judge's decision is final. Now, let's take a look at the case of the dirty filters in God's house.
All right, Mr. Cimello, this is your case. What are you asking for?
Our company, sir, was granted a contract which is legal binding as of this day with the Lady of Redemption Church. This was signed by the acting pastor and priest at the time that are the persons in charge of the church. After giving them plenty of information, we were called in on a service call at one time back in '07, and they requested us to do a complete, thorough examination of it's a very large facility there. So therefore we did that, and for about a year and a half, we had wonderful relationships, not a problem, everything was working to a T. We gave them the contract and we provided them with a complete maintenance for 4 times a year. What we call the seasonal starts, which are your most crucial time, which is fall and for heating and spring for air conditioning. And then in between that, we would include what they call a quick report for filter changes and quick inspection, which is a very minor, so we go 4 times a year.
So, okay, so you were servicing the air conditioning equipment and heating equipment at
for the church, for the fellowship hall, for the pasture, for the homes, everywhere.
Did you install that equipment?
No, that was installed previous from the original contractor. We don't know who that was.
All right, so you were servicing it. Okay.
We were just servicing and general maintenance.
All right.
So we did an inspection of everything that we, unit for unit, T for T. And we provided them with a proof of, we call our inspection report. And they chose from that point if they wanted to hire us or not.
Okay.
After they inspected that, they checked it out. They called us back in, we faxed them a contract, and they said, we would be more than glad to work with you. We always dealt with the 2 individuals, the pastor and the priest. Signed by Father Eric Thomas to proceed with the paperwork and the job as of February 1st of '08. There were a lot of previous problems. We repaired them. The previous contractor overlooked a tremendous amount of problem, which I pointed out personally to the gentleman at the time was Dale. He was the general maintenance personnel. And also Father Eric Thomas, which I brought them to the equipment to show them that what the problems were occurring. And they said, just repair it. We gave them the quote. We never had a problem. Our last invoice to the church was dated 11/10/08, which was the fall maintenance. And it was all in detail and timed. At that time, we also stated to them that the repairs that were made, and at the time when my men were there to make the inspection, we noticed that the filters, which is part of that big general maintenance, were not needed. So in other words, we were honest and said, you don't need it. We gave him a deduction. We gave him a $185 credit. We really didn't have to, but that's the person I am. We brought it to our attention. We gave them the credit. So we deducted it from the contract. So they got the credit for it. Before that, we received a letter from a Mr. Auberry stating for some umpteen reason, we don't know why, reviewing the current contract with your company, we determined that it does not meet our standards, and we said prior to the company taking the maintenance service with the previous contractor. What he goes on and says here is, if you are unable to perform these services at the current contract price, we will continue the contract through 1/31 of '09. When this contract was finalized, we received it, and to this day we still don't understand why. They tried to pay us off with a check for $300 for a quick settlement. And I did not understand why. So I phoned Mr. Auberry, and it took forever to get in touch with him. And, and at that time, they couldn't give me any reasons as to why they wouldn't pay the total amount. In the meantime, while we were servicing their facilities, we never received one call. We never received one complaint. We never received any documents of any kind. And I asked them, why didn't you call if you were unsatisfied or if you were dissatisfied with anything or any questions whatsoever? I would have been more than happy to be there and help you. Couldn't come up with no answer. So then I said, well, if you're unhappy and your committee is stating that, I would like to be present and respectfully explain the contract as to what services we perform. I was refused.
All right, so they were supposed to pay you $4,280 per year for you to provide these services basically 4 times per year, right?
Correct.
Okay. And this begins February 1st, 2008 and ends January 31st, 2009.
There's four trips that we make.
Right.
The first one was taken care of and paid for.
Okay.
The second one was paid for.
Okay.
And then the next one, you can see that the large one there,
Number 3.
number 3,
Okay. And that's for $1,609, but you're billing for $1,726.
that was because it was probably the second and the third, the third and the fourth, the final stages of the contract.
Okay. Fall MAs. What's MA?
Maintenance agreement,
$1,609. That's part of the contract.
correct.
Adjustment for filters. That's what you mentioned earlier. That's minus $185.50.
Correct.
Which would knock the total down to $1,423.50, correct?
Correct.
And then you have 2 other fees here. Ice Cube Relay, $175 and $128.
That was probably for extra parts that were, anytime we do a maintenance repair or maintenance checkpoint, if there's other parts that are failing, then we just charge for the parts only,
All right.
and we detail it.
And that's how you get this $1,726.50.
Yes, sir.
But you're suing for $1,788.66. Why is there a
Probably the
difference?
processing fee, if I probably added that on there.
He added interest, Your Honor.
Oh, all right.
Yes, the interest, that was,
So the repairman wants to get paid for the repairs he made to the church. And let's see, he's got a written contract, and the church has actually paid him in the past. That sounds pretty good. Let's see, however, what the defense will be after we break. Welcome back to Case Closed. I'm Charlie Langton. Now, let's see what the defense is in this case.
Well, Mr. Aubrey, what do you have to say?
I'll simplify for you, Your Honor. Quite simply, the contract, when Father Eric did give this contract to Sam, the intent was the same as before, to make sure that all the units were cleaned and filters changed. When Mr. Ciamello's company did not change the filters in the November inspection, it was brought to my attention by the custodian at the church. As he inspected it, he saw that they were very dirty. I looked at them. I called another company. Another company came out and looked at them. There was an inch thick of dirt on them, Your Honor. I don't understand why his employee wouldn't change them. When I addressed this issue with him in the letter, he called me. He actually denied that they were dirty. And
What letter?
I sent a letter here. Let me give it to you, Your Honor.
All right. Okay.
And that was November 28th.
Well,
I know it says
this is June
No,
26th.
no, it's December 26th. I'm sorry, November 26th, I'll tell you why. He acknowledges it in his response to me that that was a typo. That was my copy. The one, if he has a copy, I'm sure it'll say this, November 26th, because he acknowledges it in his response to me. Here it is. We have received your letter dated December 29th. I apologize. That's just a typo, Your Honor, on the date.
Okay. So this letter that you're giving me that's dated June 26, 2008 has got the wrong date? I mean,
Yes, sir.
that's not what date should it be on there?
In his response, I think it said November 26th, I believe.
So it's December 29th.
29th, I apologize.
So that's when this letter was
December
actually
29th,
sent?
Correct.
Okay. This letter states, after reviewing our current contract with your company, we have determined that it does not meet our standards that were set prior to your company taking over the maintenance services on the church. With our previous contractor, we had all filters changed quarterly, not semi-annually. All units power washed every spring, plus there are 8 units, 1 portable, not 7. Other services in the contract match the previous contract. If we are unable to perform these services at the current contract price, then we will continue the contract through January 31st. If not, we will have no choice but to seek the services necessary to meet our standards previously established. If you have questions, please call our office. The contract was signed on whatever date it was here, February 1st, 2008.
Correct.
To apparently replace the filters semi-annually. That's what it says it's going to, that's what the contract says is going to happen.
If it needs it, no, it says it'll replace it if necessary.
If
Am I correct?
necessary.
It's automatically replaced, Your Honor. I
See?
think by his own admission, you could see that he is saying semi-annual. The contract is quarterly also, and he's not understanding that we are changing filters 4 times a year. If you look
Okay.
behind the service order that you have there, you'll see the actual report from the technician, if you will read it. Right on the invoice, right in the back of it. You see his little report there? This is from the technician on the job site, and I did not write that. It states right on there what the conditions of the filters were. On November the 11th, how could they in 30 days say that they were 1 inch thick? It's almost impossible.
Well, it looks like on November 6, 2008, your technician said filter services, no filters needed at this time.
Correct.
That's what you're talking about.
Right, sir. And I personally, as the owner, also went there, and many times, many occasions, we pulled those filters because they slide on a rack. If this is the only issue they have, which is really frivolous, we slide them right out. They're clean as a whistle. We put them right back in. Why charge a customer for something they don't need?
So
I don't believe in that.
Okay, so in November of 2008, what you were supposed to do is basically get the furnaces ready for the winter.
Yeah, that's a
Right.
big job. That's a
Well,
very big job. Yes.
I understand that. And it says heating seasonal start on 7 furnaces. I guess there's 8 furnaces,
There's maybe 8 or 9, yes. They're large equipment.
which also includes all filters and inspections provided on the list below.
Correct.
And there's a list of 9 things here. Check vent, clean or replace filter, oil motor if necessary, check burners, check for proper combustion, check safety controls, check airflow, check heat exchanger, check wiring. So it says clean or replace filter. And it says filter service, which would be number 2 of that. No filters needed at this time. Were they clean, do you know?
They were clean enough to go for another 4 months.
When they wouldn't be needed anymore because the furnaces would be shut down.
They were going to be starting.
Oh, that's right, because
they're
you
starting the season.
That's right.
Starting
So
the season.
you would have come out there again.
We will
4
come back
months.
about 4 months later, and then now we change them automatically,
Okay.
okay?
Which
Now,
would
we
have
could have
been,
elected just to, if you want to call it, like, close your eyes, take the filters out, dump them, put new ones in.
that's mid-season filter changes.
Correct. That's mid-season.
Okay.
In mid-season, they would just need filters only.
And then that's where the credit of $185.50
Correct.
comes in.
Yes, we gave them the money back because we didn't need to change them.
Okay. All right,
Your Honor,
go ahead.
he didn't look at the filters. He wasn't there to look at them.
How do you know?
Because he wasn't there. The custodian told me he wasn't there.
Well, his technician was there.
Correct.
Right.
Now, I had a company, the reason I was suspicious, to be candid with you, Your Honor, and I called another company to inspect it, and he inspected it prior to December 12th, there's his letter to me on December 12th, was because on May of 7th, the office called me and said, we have a leak on one of the furnaces, we wanted, this company wants $4,000 or $5,000 to repair it, they said they need a compressor. So I called his technician, or the technician called myself, and he told me it needed a compressor. I requested the office to get a second opinion from another company. This is the company, same company on that letter. They came out and they repaired it for, I believe, $440. It was just a leak. That was a year and a half ago, Your Honor, and it's still working perfectly today.
What does that have to do with
That
this
is-
case?
It made me leery. It just, I couldn't understand why they would want to not change the filters if they were contracted to change them. So I had this company look at the units, they saying that they weren't being.
Well, I don't know that he was contracted to change the filters.
Well, why not?
Your Honor.
It doesn't
this-
say that. Where does it say that the filters will be changed during the seasonal start of the furnaces?
Clean or replace filter.
Clean or replace. It doesn't say change.